as static are being sacrificed. And that's, if your stuff's not available, they can't hear it. Sometimes you gotta feel your way through the dark, and I struggled all the way up into the minute. Peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth to all you guys.
This is Hindsight Radio. I represent it. The information station changing the nation.
Peace, Hindsight Radio family. This is Akeem with Hindsight Radio. I am here critiquing this video, and this is mostly to show people that they need to stop following certain groups of people because it will get you killed. And tragically, in this circumstance, it did get someone killed unnecessarily. A simple traffic stop, a simple situation turned violent unnecessarily. Well, let's watch the video so you can see why I don't teach you guys. Don't, buy these sovereign citizen plates, these Morris Science Temple IDs. And it seems good, it seems like it's something because you want to be different. You want to consider yourself indigenous. That's all well and good. You want to claim your nationality. But the Morris Science Temple been pumping these IDs out for years, and all it has gotten people was in trouble over the years. I haven't seen anything positive come out of these situations. And let's watch. Let's watch.
The Hunt Fountain Park on Duff Road in North Lakeland. Deputy
This is in Florida.
The area because we had some burglaries in the area. Gangbangers, kids, teenagers flipped door handles looking for cash, credit cards, and guns. And there had been some of those in the area. We also had a burglary of the concession stand at the park recently. So Deputy Conover was doing what she should when she saw a white Mercedes-Benz in the parking lot. She checked on the person there.
So they were there because there was a lot of robberies going on. And they saw a car. They wanted to check it out to verify if this person or this car was part of this crime spree. It's a Mercedes-Benz. I don't know what year it is. You could make the argument there was just profiling. You can. But how this turned out based on what they're reporting, it shouldn't have to turn out that way. If you were following my method, you wouldn't have that problem. But this you'll see.
And the person just barely rolled the window down, talking to her when she asked.
This is one of the techniques of being taught. Crack your window, speak out of there. And first of all, to me, I think that's disrespectful to do that. I see a video where a guy say, "I don't answer questions," and, but he does show his ID. He does give them the information, and he remains silent. I'm okay with that, But this Morris Science Temple technique is don't say anything, fight, just be belligerent, and it's to me, it's unnecessary.
Would you show me your driver's license? Tell me who you are. He wouldn't respond. He wouldn't get out of the car. He wouldn't cooperate.
So let me stop. So he wasn't committing a crime. Now, I will be clear. He wasn't committing a crime at this point to be where he was. So I kind of like this sheriff is kind of justifying just pulling people over and asking questions. And, the Constitution protects that right. You have a right to privacy. You really don't have to answer questions. But at the same time, you don't have to get belligerent about everything. You see? There's a way to handle these things.
He was dressed all in white as if he were in some kind of religious or cult garb. He certainly wasn't in normal street clothes. So she called for backup, and that's when Deputy Craig Smith Lieutenant Anderson, who were both shot, as well as Deputy Bolito and his trainee. And we also had Natalie Ostrich, who is K9, back them up. So now there's a total with the trainees of 7 deputies there. So Craig Smith, Chad Anderson go to the door and say, "Hey, look, man." They tried to talk to him. You've got to identify yourself. You've got to come out and talk to us. And he wouldn't. And his car started rolling. They grabbed the window, and all of a sudden, he started shooting. We know now that he shot 5 times. We saw 5 empty casings. He struck Lieutenant Chad Anderson in the left arm. It went through the arm and into his chest cavity. The projectile lodged between his heart and his spinal column. He was fractions of an inch from either being paralyzed from the chest down or killed if it had have gone into his heart or struck any of those major arteries in that area. He went down, but he got 2 shots off before he went down. Craig Smith, Deputy Smith, was not able to shoot because he was shot, and as I reported, there were 4 gunshot wounds in him. After clearly evaluating him and the medical procedures, he was shot twice. So what we were looking at was in and out holes. So he was shot twice in his right arm and he went down. Deputy Bolito and our K9 deputy Ostrich returned shots. There was a gunfight. There were 38 shots fired. We hit the suspect 8 times, and he was immediately deceased. So now we rush everyone to the hospital. Lieutenant Chad Anderson has had 2 surgeries. A minute about the suspect. And I want to show you what we found in his car. First, the firearm that he used to shoot my deputies and to shoot at the other deputies. It's a Springfield Arms XD 9mm. And in addition to being a loaded firearm, he also had 2 more loaded magazines.
I'm sorry. My mic was muted then. He did have the right to have these firearms. So he didn't have a felony. So he had a right to have these guns. And the sheriff will clear that up later on in this interview. But he didn't have a right to shoot at the deputies. So let's keep going.
Door petition to his left. So he could have had a small gun battle with what he had alone. In the back seat, he had this is a Ruger 1022 converted to an AR-15. In a backpack, he had a fully loaded 40mm firearm handgun. So let me introduce you to our suspect that tried to murder my deputies, did his best. This is K-Mac Elbay. He's 26. That's the name.
There you go, Elbay. And see, anybody presenting these IDs is going to be treated with extreme prejudice. You know, so just letting you know.
That he has taken on, because you see, he identifies as Moorish. He uses a number 13 lion-hearted on his Florida driver's license. Beside his signature, he has written ARR. All
So he says he has a driver's license.
reserved. He's currently homeless. He was evicted from a place in Hillsborough County.
He's homeless.
He has been moving around in Pinellas County. He was asked.
Let me stop and talk about this homeless thing. This usually is what happens to people who go down these paths, this deep rabbit hole. They end up homeless. Like, I know someone for 5 years. They're fighting foreclosures. And at the time I met them, they owned 11 properties. All of them in foreclosure. Why? Because they was trying those discharge techniques that don't work. And as much as I tried to encourage them to go talk to my partner Gilbert, who handles foreclosures and get people back into their mortgages through modifications, they wouldn't listen. They wouldn't follow. Now they're homeless. And it was funny. That person I'm talking about lives in this was living in Hillsborough County, Florida. And this person I'm speaking of had tried all these same techniques right here too. Been locked up multiple times in their 40s, late 40s. They're doing these things and they're going to jail. Have 2 children that they, supposed to be an example for doing this nonsense. I don't know what's it going to take for people to stop falling for this stuff. They've been pumping this stuff out for years, getting no results. What happens, the old heads leave and don't want the new heads. Stay away from that stuff. Stay away from these Moorish IDs. My first, information I got on these IDs, it was a woman, she was using these IDs. The police, this was in South Carolina, threw her and banged her head up against her own hood of her car because she showed that ID. Said it time and time again, you're considered a terrorist. Once you show that, you are a terrorist, a domestic terrorist, extremist. Let's keep going.
To leave a business area apparently last month. We talked to his mother. She said, I don't know this person. She said, I know Kyron Caples, Caples. Kyron Caples is my son. He went to Fresno State after 3 years of college and in studying business. He left. He apparently was radicalized while he was at Fresno State. She said, I raised him as a Christian boy.
You notice how he's saying radicalized. Radicalized.
He was a good man. We found that he didn't have a criminal history.
No criminal history.
Suspended driver's license. So the person that his mother knew and loved, and she'd not seen him in 3 years since he left California. That's where she lives. Until we got that fateful call, she had talked to him and had communicated with him and had on occasion sent him money when he needed help. But she says she doesn't know who this K-Mac Elbay is, but that's who he goes by now. Here's his identification.
There's the IDs.
His Moorish identification card. He's a sovereign citizen. The Moorish rejects federal.
You see how they automatically label you a sovereign citizen? As soon as you show those IDs, you're automatically going to be labeled that. When you don't have those plates on your car, you're going to automatically be labeled that. And at that point, things turn bad.
State and local law, they don't have to obey it. They're extremist. They're anti-government. They have a potential for violence toward law enforcement. And
they have a potential towards violence, and he just helped that narrative.
I'll harken you back, and those of you who have been reporters around here for a while, remember in 2017, on the I-4 corridor, 3 police officers were shot and killed. A sergeant with the Orlando Police Department, a sergeant with the Kissimmee Police Department, and on that same day, an officer with the Kissimmee Police Department. They were shot by 2 separate Moorish people, all in 2017. And now let's fast forward to 2024, and KMAC tried to murder 2 of my police officers.
So they're gonna be looking at Morris people like.
In addition to their violent activity, they're known for trying to file paperwork. For example, they have filed an arrest warrant for me.
And this is the nonsense that they preach. File liens, files arrest warrant, and it's just paperwork. You become a paper terrorist. It doesn't do anything. He's got a smirk on his face. Like, they filed this on me, and so what? And people follow us. Yeah, you need to file. And I see this in YouTube threads. I see it in Facebook threads. File it lien. Fine. You didn't file your lien. And a lot of these people don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're just talking. You're dealing with people that have no life. So they get on here and this makes them feel like they're a part of something, that they fighting for some great cause. No, you're fighting for a great broke cause. It's trash. Those IDs, trash. I know a lot of the Morris people going to look at me, I don't care. I've never seen anything positive come out of that nonsense.
In the Moorish world, with a $1 million bond, as well as some of my other deputies. Not this person, but other Moorish.
Now, let's make sense. You file a bond or a lien and you put it in this very system that you claim is against you, and you expect the system that is against you to enforce that lien. How dumb is that? It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. You say you're sovereign from this system and you don't, they can't do anything for you, but when you have a problem, when you want to file a lien and put it on the county and do all this nonsense and expect that same system that you say you don't have jurisdiction over you to enforce that. It's insane and stupid. And quite frankly, it's unintelligent. It shows lack of critical thinking. And all of you who are listening, who have done these liens and stuff like that, I hope what I said offends you. I hope to the point that you go look in the mirror and say, what the hell am I doing? Stop doing this dumb stuff. It's dumb. If you're going to fight a system, the system has rules. The Matrix told you that clearly. You have to understand how the system is in order for you to make the system work for you. You have to work within the parameters of that system. Not outside. You can't go making your own outside rules. There's rules. You get violated Constitution, you sue them. You file complaints. And you properly move through the channels to get your justice. But these liens and filing on, they do nothing but piss them off and treat you, get you bad treatment, period.
People. We make frequent arrest of these citizens, these Moorish citizens, but we don't.
It's only dealing with the Moorish, but it's not like Moorish is not the only ones that do this stuff. There's a lot of other people teaching stuff, but they don't identify as Moorish. But he's solely dealing with Moorish. And so that's going to put a target on all, and most people who are more into the Moorish are people of color, dark skin, considered black, African American. So y'all in trouble. It's open season now.
Publish them because we don't want to market for them. But let me read something to you for just a second. This is an example. Now, here's his ID card, and this is a sample of a card that he had, so that when they want to hand it to you, he didn't, it would say, and you'll get the mindset, this is a valid and lawful form of identification. See United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, Articles 2 and 33, Section 1. You're being put on notice that any unlawful act against an indigenous Yahundum Moor is a federal crime and you will be fined $750,000 or more. Any violation of my rights, well-being, or property.
That's the stuff that's on the back of those IDs that they laugh at. Means nothing. Means nothing.
Is your express agreement to be held officially and privately liable for $750,000 for each violation of the bearer's rights in each capacity. If detaining the bearer, you also expressly agree to the fee schedule of $90,000 per hour upon any unlawful detainment and violation of the bearer's right. Payment is due immediately in lawful money.
Sound familiar?
So you get an idea of what we're dealing with when we're dealing with these Moorish sovereign citizens.
See, he's specifically saying Moorish sovereign citizens, so he's declaring pretty much condemning just them. There's other groups of people that do the same thing, and they're not Moorish at all. This stuff is rampant around the country. Sovereign citizens, and he'll say it around the country.
And you don't know when. There's been other occasions where they're not dangerous at all. They just file papers illegally. And if you'll harken back to a few years ago, the Florida legislature had to create a new set of laws so that if they tried to go down and file liens against judges or clerks, that was a criminal event and they could be arrested.
Now it's criminal.
Mechanism to easily clean those liens and legal paperwork out. We've talked to the mother twice of our suspect, at least twice. I call him, because this is his given name that he wants us to use, K-Mac Elbay. But for mom's benefit, we've talked to Kyron Cable's mom. She is a wonderful lady. She is totally in shock. And she said, as she's going to fly in at some point in time, she wants to meet with the deputies and apologize for her son shooting them. That's a good person. She understands the gravity of what occurred. Are there any questions?
Sure. Are those guns registered to him?
Yeah.
Where the guns came from, you don't have to register guns in Florida. They're not stolen. At least they're not in the computer as stolen. And he is not a convicted felon, so he has the right to possess the firearm, or had the right to possess the firearms.
Look.
Is that legal?
It is legal. That conversion kit comes with that model weapon. Okay.
Sovereign citizens. I've seen videos where they'll actually follow law enforcement, and follow around. Is this guy known for following law enforcement? Do you feel like he actually targeted these particular deputies?
We see nothing at all. And here's the most senseless part of this. Well, when you look through this Moorish rhetoric, that's pretty senseless. But he was in a park that was closed. Had he simply identified himself when we found he had a suspended license, he could.
So he was stopped because he was in a place that was closed. So I guess that would give an officer pause and want to know what's going on. I can see that. Okay, so that clears that up. He was in a place where it was closed, and it was just simply trying to figure out what he was doing.
couldn't have driven off. We didn't have to bring any criminal charges against him. More than likely, we would have said, hey, let's get somebody to give you a ride. And that would have been the end of it. Probably not even a citation for being in the park after dark. He was not who we were looking for. We were looking for teenagers that were running through neighborhoods at night flipping door handles. He was not a target. He was not a problem until he made himself a problem.
See, that's the important point right there. A lot of times the cops are just trying to figure things out to move on. Do y'all realize how much paperwork it takes to arrest someone? Like just go through the whole process. It's work. It's extra work. I would say, having family as law enforcement officers, they'd rather you just move along. And that's it. Because the paperwork is crazy to do an arrest. They don't, you gotta type out what happened from beginning to end. Imagine all of that. And then you turn it into this craziness. And see, that's because a lot of these people that are teaching this is not thinking about the fact that these law enforcement officers are simply family people. They're working because they have to. They do it, they may love their job, I don't know, but they're working that job because they figure it's the best job that'll give them the best benefits, but it's a lot of risk in that job. They just want to get home, do their job, get home, do the job that they were commissioned to do. So in their mind, they're doing their job. So when someone comes up, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. I don't have to have a license plate. I don't have this and that. And that's just causing more tension on the situation. And it escalated. And it escalated bad. According to them, he shot back at them, just shot at him, tried to leave because he felt like he didn't have to listen to him. So he bought into all of these teachings. And now his life is gone because I guarantee you went to many seminars. He bought all of the materials and he studied that. See, this studying is good, but if you're studying something with bad information, it's bad. And like I said, all of these types of Moorish, I'm not saying the Moorish community is, all problems, but on this level, they're all broke, homeless, or almost homeless, are bickering back and forth amongst each other. They all have big egos. And then they get in front of the law enforcement office and try to puff out their chest. Remember, the cops have an army. It's just you. You're not gonna win. Although he was injured in some cops, he still lost. He lost his life.
I think that's what shocks his mother and, quite frankly, shocks all of us because up to this point, we see no evidence that he was violent, but we saw lots of evidence that he was capable of being violent. And we also know that his radicalization has increased over the last 3 years based on his conduct.
Radicalization.
ID cards showing that he's a
So
person.
see what he's saying? In his mind, once you show those IDs, you are radicalized. Once you start presenting that paperwork, you are radical. You're a problem. And I think I understand because this is what happened.
So why he decided to murder, we don't know, but we know that's not unusual when you look at the history just here on the I-4 corridor. And if you search up, you'll see that these folks that are Moorish and some.
See, he said, and are Moorish. He's being very specific. He's identifying
these other citizens, as they call themselves, have been violent toward law enforcement.
as you said, you don't want to publicize or sovereign citizens, but can you give us a better idea of how prevalent of an issue this is for your agency?
Well, there are sovereign citizens in every county, in every state in this nation. Now, how many? We don't know. We run into them periodically, and usually it's on a traffic stop because they don't have a tag on their car. So you stop them to say, where's the tag on your car? They roll the window down about this far. And we say, wait, may we see your driver's license? I'm not showing you anything. And then they give you a quote like, I am not subservient to the laws of the United States or the
That stuff ain't working.
You have no right to stop me and interfere with me. I'm a free man or a free woman. And they go into all this nonsense. And we thought it was one more of those. And then we very nicely, very professionally say, sir, ma'am, if you don't open the door, if you don't show us your driver's license, if you don't explain why you don't have a tag, we have to arrest you. I am not subject to the laws of the United States. And at that point in time, we say, ma'am, sir, please, if you don't get out of the car, we've got to take you out of the car. I am not subject to obey any direction by any law enforcement officer. And at that point, we take a punch and we break the window out. We open the car door. We take them out. We put them in handcuffs and take them to jail. And that's what we were doing that night after he resisted us. He had time to think about it. My backup was coming. We didn't rush him. We didn't push him. We talked to him. We tried to communicate with him. He wasn't having it. He was Moorish. He was a sovereign citizen. He didn't have to adhere to the laws of the state of Florida or the United States.
I'd like to see the body cam.
And then he shot my deputies, and then we killed him, graveyard dead.
That's what's going to happen. Y'all play with these people. They're training every day.
Legion of deputies around him trying to get him to cooperate. He chose for us to shoot him. He made that decision, and we obliged him. And what we have now is we have two deputies that are significantly injured, critically injured, and their recovery will be months and months and months. And it's by the grace of God that they're alive. Fractions of an inch, and they would be dead. Anything else? Before I go, we've gotten several phone calls. Polk Sheriff.
So there you have it, right? So it's not worth your life or jail to play these games with these people. It's not. Stop buying into these broke rhetoric, people teaching you how to fight law enforcement. These guys have, most of them have no real education on anything, not even themselves. I mean, critical thinking will tell you not to do something like that. That's why I created that driver's license process. So you can get a driver's license and still have your information on the record. I got all of my cars are registered. My car is registered in a trust. Have plates on it. Yes. And it will always have plates. I'm not playing those games. Okay. All right. There you have it. Think what you want. Y'all could go ahead and mess with that Moorish Science Temple, Moorish stuff if you want to, but you're going to get more of this type of treatment. This is how the world sees Moorish Science Temple, Moorish people. Anyone putting out those badges, all right, or those IDs. Peace, prosperity, extreme wealth to everyone. Peace. And that static are being sacrificed, and that's if your stuff's not available, they can't hear it. Sometimes you got to feel your way through the dark, and I struggled all the way up into the minute. Peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth to all you guys.
This is Hindsight Radio. I represent it, the information station changing the nation.